Welcome to the WIAA High School Basketball Girls State Championship Preview Show presented by Current Electric. I am Mike McGivern. Thank you so much for joining us. So the next 2 days at the Rush Center in Green Bay, we will crown 5 state champions, from small schools to large schools, with teams from all over the state of Wisconsin. It's been a few years since I retired from coaching high school basketball, and I get asked a lot if I miss it. You know, that's a really tough question for me. There are times that I certainly do, and this time of year, yeah, it's one of those times. Throughout my coaching career, I was lucky to be a part of 5 state championship teams going to state championship games in the Christian school state tournaments and 3 in the WIAA. And when I think back at those years, those teams, those staffs, those families, I remember the journey of getting there more than the actual game to win the gold ball. These teams are at that point right now, one win away from representing what's on the front of their jersey to show the state of Wisconsin that this team is the best high school girls basketball team in the state of Wisconsin. For the next hour, we'll break down the 4 state semifinals going on today. Tip off at 1:35 right here on My 24 for the first Division III game. The #1 ranked team, the Lady Dutch from Oostburg, take on the Indians from Mosinee, followed by Kettle Moraine Lutheran taking on Wisconsin Dells. Then later this evening, right here on My 24, Division IV games tip off at 6:30 with Neillsville against Lomira, followed by St. Mary Catholic against Albany, Monticello. My co-host for today and tomorrow's preview show is Michael Whitlow. He's a prep sports writer, reporter for the Journal-Sentinel and JS Online. Michael, how you been?
Good, man. It's good to see you again. I feel like we've been seeing each other a lot more frequently lately.
Man, I talk to you about as much as I talk to my wife, which is, hey, no, I'm only kidding. She's way cuter than you are. Hey, November seems like a long time ago, but you start looking at some of the teams that have made it to state. It's some of the teams that we thought, and then a couple of teams we didn't think about.
Yeah, absolutely. I think when you look at the Division I field, it's like Milwaukee and Arrowhead. Okay, that makes sense. And then you see a team like Wisconsin Dells, where it's like they got 8 seniors, and the closest game they've had was their sectional final last week. They've been winning by like an average of over 30 points a game all year. It's amazing to see these teams, you know, the difference in teams across all 5.
100%. And for me, one of the best stories on this tournament, and we'll talk more about it tomorrow, but in Division V, Pacelli, Stevens Point Pacelli, at the beginning of the year had 10 girls in the entire program. So no freshmen, no JV team, all varsity players. 2 kids are out with injuries. So they're down to 8. And listening to that press conference, she talks about, look, we did a lot of 3-on-3 drills, a lot of 4. The only way we could go up and down the court 5-on-5 is if some teachers came to practice or some guys that played in their program years ago came back, but those guys didn't want to come all the time. And she said, so we shot a lot of free throws. And we did a lot of competitive 3-on-3, 4-on-4. So one of my favorite stories, and we'll get to that one tomorrow, is Pacelli. Hey, the games today. Like the Oostburg team is the one that I keep hearing the most about. You have seen them play. They're awfully good.
The Ketterhagen trio and plus Coach Isaiah Ketterhagen, just a well-oiled machine. It's probably, I've used that to describe teams in our area, but that's really what they are. With Kinsley and Addie and Riley, you know, Addie was a Miss Basketball finalist as well. That team, they know who they are. They know their roles. In my opinion, Kinsley has one of the best jump shots in all of the state. I mean, it's so smooth. It looks so good coming out of her hand. They're such a good team.
Do you know what was really interesting to me? And look, I coached mostly on the boys' side 2 years, but years ago on the girls' side. What was shocking to me is the amount of Division I Wisconsin girls basketball players. Look, the numbers in girls basketball throughout the country is dwindling. Volleyball's taken a lot. But in the state of Wisconsin, we're going to go through a bunch of these teams that have Division I players and some that have more than one. In fact, the 2 girls from Oostburg, the sisters, are going to Green Bay.
Yep.
And there's a couple other, some going to Wisconsin, some going to Milwaukee. And then throughout the country, I was just shocked at the number of scholarship athletes we have in girls basketball here in the state.
Yeah, it's amazing. I've had this conversation with fans and coaches and different colleagues and stuff. It's amazing to see the game. It feels like numbers are dwindling, but it feels like the talent is continuing to grow. It's amazing, especially specifically in the Milwaukee area. It's like Minnesota's building somewhat of a pipeline in our area, with Natalie Casso, who we'll get to tomorrow with Arrowhead, McKenna Christian, Grace Kraholski from Kettle Moraine, a two-time state champ from our area. It's amazing to see the talent that we have in our area and across the state.
Yeah, I agree. And when you look the girl from Pewaukee going to Wisconsin, Giselle Janowski, one of our Pick and Save student athletes of the week on my radio show, by the way, she's big time student athlete. And when they came calling, she was like, this is where I dreamt about playing. And I can't wait to go there and compete, but I got some business to do here. And you got to give, when we get to Pewaukee, it's another big time story, right? The Twins leave, go to Michigan State. They've had a ton of injuries, and they just keep rolling.
Yeah, Jim runs an amazing program out there. I'm not surprised to see them at state. That's just what they do.
Yeah, it is what they do. And Notre Dame as well.
Same thing.
They all got moved up. They all got moved up. 3 of the teams in Division I got moved up from Division II.
And honestly, with Sarah, Jim, and Mary Merg at Tosa East, I think those are 3 of the best coaches in the state.
I'm a huge Mary Merg fan.
Same.
Yeah, look, I know her family. I know her dad. I know her brother really well, or I used to.
Wisconsin hoops legend, by the way, at Whitewater.
Very much so. Yeah, and his dad, Randy, was a really good player too. And we coached against each other in like 3rd and 4th grade AAU. He hated me, by the way. Mary Merg, I'm a huge fan. Hey, let's get to a break. Other side of the break. For the first breakdown for our Division III matchup today, we're going to talk a little bit about Oostburg, and we'll talk about Mosinee as well. This is the high school basketball girls state championship preview show presented by Kern Electric, only on My 24. Welcome back to the WIAA High School Basketball Girls State Championship preview show presented by Kern Electric. I am Mike McGivern alongside my co-host. He is Michael Whitlow. He's a prep sports reporter for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel. Tip-off for the first state semifinal in Division III is at 1:30 as the number 1 seed Oostburg takes on the number 4 seed Mosinee. Michael, let's look at this matchup a little bit, and let's start with listening to Isaiah Ketterhagen talk a little bit about his team.
We are probably known most for my 3 daughters and our last name, and I think that's a little bit misleading. We got a really good group. I think one of our mottos is just kind of making the other team miserable for 36 minutes. So that's kind of our thing. We do everything defensively. And then after that, it's kind of, we like to play fast and move the ball and keep the ball hot. And when it's sticky, we don't play so well. So that's the gist of what we've done.
So making the team miserable, right, for 36 minutes was a great quote. The other thing he talked about on that press conference, and you don't get this a lot in press conferences anywhere, especially at this level, where he came out and said, look, for us here, this year, this team, it's gold ball or bust. It will not be a successful year if we don't win the gold ball. And I thought, man, he's awfully confident on this team, and he should be.
He should be. I mean, his daughters are unbelievable. I got to see them play earlier in the year against another team we'll talk about, this weekend in Whitefish Bay. They do things the right way. And it's such a cliche to say, but they do things the right way. You don't play 5 teams that qualified for state and go 5-0 if you're doing things the wrong way. And Oostburg does things the right way.
He had talked in that press conference about, he thought the turning point for their year was the game against Whitefish Bay. And you had told me you didn't think that they played all that well?
No, I thought they had more in the tank. I thought they probably could have been a little bit cleaner offensively, and maybe that's just me having such high expectations for such a great team.
Sure.
But honestly, I thought they could have played a little better, and they still controlled the game for most of the 36 minutes.
And it's funny because he talked in that press conference that game you were at, it was kind of the turning point, because I think he agreed with you that they didn't play their best ball, and they beat one of the top teams in the state fairly handily, right? They were in control of that game. And for Coach Ketterhagen to say, hey, listen, everybody talks about our last name and my 3 daughters, and they're right. They're talented players, but we're more than just that. We've got some players that rebound, get on the floor, pass the ball, defend, and it can't just be my 3 daughters. It's got to be this entire team. And look, Oostburg is this community will be. I mean, they will follow this team wherever they're playing.
Absolutely.
And certainly they'll be up in big numbers up at the Rush Center here today.
Oh, for sure. And the Ketterhagen family, I mean, shout out to them, because it's just like we rarely ever see a situation where there's 3 daughters all able to play together. Their dad's the coach, and for them to have this much success, and with the, all 3 daughters event, with Kinsley, being the youngest, she's eventually going to go play Division I basketball as well, as long as, with Riley and Addie at UWGB, which shout out to them, back in another conference championship game. And it's just like, I mean, that program up there is a well-oiled machine. Heck, Kinsley may end up there herself. So
yeah, they might want to play together again, but
I would like,
from what I hear, Kinsley's going to get some offered at some really
going to get some high level
offers. So they play Mosinee, and Josh Howe, who is their coach, very confident in the way they're playing right now. He said, "Look, we're playing great basketball. They have not lost since January 5th." Let's take a listen to Josh Howe in the press conference that we were listening to.
So we were sitting there at 5-4, wondering how good we could be. And we were up at halftime at Rice Lake on kind of a weird schedule because of weather and everything. We went up there early, no JV game. And then we kind of gave that game away in the second half. And that was on January 5th, and we haven't lost since. We've had a bunch of girls that have bought into their role. We have a bunch of phenomenal athletes. My guard, Addie Henrik, is committed to Iowa State to play softball. I have a freshman that'll be a scholarship kid in whatever sport she chooses, a 6'2", physical, tough kid. And then I have one of the best guards in the state who's just a sophomore, Peyton Jersley, the sister of the girl I mentioned before. So we have a dynamic duo, a really good point guard and a really good big that are just a sophomore and a freshman. And it took us a little bit, and we were kind of baptized by fire early in that year. But we're absolutely playing great basketball right now and really rolling.
Michael, he talked about Peyton being the sister of Talon Jersel. She tore her ACL and is out for the year, and she was their best player. Didn't know that she tore it, got hurt, felt it a little bit, went and got looked at, and out for the year. And one of the reasons they started 5-4 was because their best player was gone. Who's going to step up? Who's going to take that role? And I'll tell you, Josh is so proud of Peyton, the sophomore, and he had made a comment that in the beginning of the year, she was not playing great. She was a little bit sad. Her sister, they were going to play together, right, and their best player gets knocked out. But since January 5th, they've been playing really well, have not lost. They're going to have their hands full with Oostburg, but Mosinee's had a great year.
Yeah, shout out to them too, because losing at Rice Lake, the #1 team in the D2 bracket, not exactly a bad thing, especially when you're on a weird schedule, like he said, no JV game. It really can throw you off your rhythm a little bit. But I mean, shout out to Peyton, because being a sophomore, losing your older sister to a devastating knee injury, right, for her to, I think she's averaging over 18 a game. Yeah, I think she's their leading rebounder as well. She has had an amazing year, and for her to only be a sophomore, I mean, this is just such a great building block for Mosinee, whether they win or lose, today. You have something you can build on with Peyton over the next couple of years, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see him here again next year as well.
I would not. And Josh, very excited about the direction of the program. Yeah. You could just tell, younger guy, really involved and totally engaged and excited to get this team up to state to see what they can do. But I think he understands that, look, Oostburg's loaded. Everybody's waiting for these Ketterhagens to get up to WGB, and that, is going to happen. But this team is one that I think a year from now we're going to be talking about as well.
I do. I really do. And I mean, it's not necessarily David versus Goliath, because like Josh said, they haven't lost since January 5th. So, this team is clicking on all cylinders right now. So Oostburg is obviously the favorite, and rightfully so. Yes. But I would not be surprised if Mosinee hangs around a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I'm not. Sorry, I don't blame you. Sorry, Mosinee.
No, I don't blame you, because Oostburg is that good.
Yeah, and look, a lot of people I respect coaches on the girls' side when they say to me, "Look, that's the best team in the state with any division," and I'm really looking forward to seeing them play.
Well, like I said earlier, Oostburg's played 5 teams that have qualified for state. They're 5-0.
Yeah, I don't know how you beat that. So I'm going to disagree with you. I think Mosinee's going to have their hands full, and
I agree with that.
That one's going to be a difficult one. Guys, we're going to get to a break. Other side of the break, we will break down the second Division III matchup as Kettle Moraine Lutheran takes on Wisconsin Dells. This is the WIAA High School Girls Basketball State Championship Preview Show presented by our friends at Current Electric only on My 24. Welcome back to the WIAA High School Basketball Girls State Championship Preview Show presented by Current Electric. Tip-off for the first state semifinal game in Division III is at 1:30 right here on My 24. Michael, let's look at the second Division III matchup. Let's start with the Chargers from Kettle Moraine Lutheran. 27-1 overall and 12-0 in the Glacier Trails Conference. Their only loss was at Hartford, and they are coached by Jason Walls. Let's listen to Jason talk a little bit about this year's team.
We have 2 seniors that replaced the 8 seniors that we lost from a year ago. We have a team with 6 sophomores, and then the rest are juniors, and the kids have come together really well. You never know how it's going to be replacing so many seniors, and 8 is kind of an anomaly in today's high school girls basketball landscape. So we filled those spots, and not only filled them with good kids, but some really good players too.
So what do you think the Walls family talks about? I would assume that his brother, the head boys coach at Wisconsin Lutheran, says, well, you got 1 loss. I don't have any loss. I got a feeling that they talk a little bit of smack at the Walls family.
It's hilarious because you have a nationally ranked Wisconsin Lutheran boys basketball team, and now you have Jason's team at 27-1 and in line to potentially play for a state championship this weekend. It's just like the Walls family. It's like they eat, sleep, and breathe basketball, and then you tell me, well, it's like they got other hobbies. You know, they go to the same cabin and hang out.
Yeah.
You know,
But not much.
But I do wonder what those conversations are like between coaches, because I mean, this family, all they do is win, it feels like.
And maybe the best coach in the family is their dad. Yeah, he coached at Lakeside Lutheran, he coached at Wisconsin Lutheran, and I coached against him. And he was very intense on the sidelines, and I had him in studio, and about 3 minutes in, I said, "You're funny?" He goes, "Man, I'm hysterical." And I go, "I didn't know that about you." And when we just listened to Jason, he didn't come across as, okay, he's hysterical. I asked a question in the press conference about building a solid program. Like, he is really building one of the best programs in the state. And his answer was, look, here's how you build a good program. Hire good assistants that have really good daughters that want to play. And I thought,
Good formula.
you know what? It's worked for him for sure, and it's worked out really well.
Absolutely.
They've got 3 players averaging double digits, and defensively, they get after it. And I'll tell you what, they're a fun team to watch. They're really well coached. They're not going to beat themselves.
Yeah, I actually had the pleasure of watching them on Saturday against Milwaukee Academy of Science in the sectional final, and I was like, man, I'm really excited for this game because MAS can really score with the best of them. They had them to 11 points in the first half.
Yeah, they did.
Like,
Nice.
it was one of those games where it's like they couldn't hit water if they fell out of a boat, and that's no disrespect to MAS. It's just that's how good KML's defense was.
Yeah, and they're not afraid. The stage is not too big. They come out and play. Jason had talked about, look, Division III, and he said, kids play so much basketball nowadays, right? That what class the player's in doesn't really matter, and that's why he tries to go, and non-conference games, he go against D1, go against D2. He said, look, in today's world in AAU, these kids, it doesn't matter how many kids are in the school, they still just get to play 5.
Yeah, and you mentioned it, before we heard Jason speak, their only loss was to Hartford, who played in a D1 sectional final against Milwaukee in a really intense sectional final. That's not a bad loss to have on your resume. And I think they only lost that game by like a couple of points. Like, I think it was like a 5-point game.
Jason talked about it. I wish we could play them again. They're not going to be able to play them again. But you know what? Those are my favorite types of coaches and players, where they beat us, and we want another shot at them rather than, oh, they're Division I, they're too big, they're too good, we never want to play them again. He's like, I'd go get in the playground and play them in just a pickup game.
It's no surprise that Oostburg and KML are here because you look at their schedule. They're playing D3 schools, but they're also playing the top of the top in D1 and D2 as well.
Yeah, they're going to have their hands full with the Chiefs from Wisconsin Dells. And I can tell you what, they have not been behind hardly at all. And you had talked about some of, their games and how big of margins they have had. Let's listen to Bob Buss. He's the head coach at Wisconsin Dells on this year's team.
Had a great year, obviously, 28-0. Just great senior leadership. Got a bunch of can't really talk. I'm a little hoarse today, but just a great group of seniors that just are leaders and just embraced the underclassmen. It's just a team oriented feeling. So we've been playing pretty well. Obviously it gets harder. We had a good game yesterday, but it's just a great group of girls that I'm very excited for.
Bob talked about a couple of things in that press conference, and he said, look, coming into the year with what we had coming back with these 6 seniors and some underclassmen that could play, we knew we'd be successful. But at what point do you say, okay, we're going to be successful, we're 14-0, 15-0, how far can we take this? And he said, look, we haven't been down much this year. He goes, so that part is making me a little bit uneasy. How are we going to react if we get down by 6 or 8 points? And he said, but look, this team, 6 seniors, great leadership, and we have just really taken care of our business. And he talked about how proud he is of this group.
Yeah, it's funny to hear him hoarse because the sectional final is probably the closest game they've played all year. They won by 5. I think the closest margin other than that game was 15 this year. That's how good they've been. And it's like, it's just funny to hear him kind of hoarse because it was probably a little bit more intense game than maybe some of the fans in attendance probably expected. But yeah, I mean, this team, when you have 6 seniors in a rotation, I feel like as a coach, it makes your job so much easier because it feels more of a player's program than it feels more than the coach leading the program.
Michael, I'll agree with you if those 6 seniors fully accept the underclassmen. Right. If they're like, hey, look, this is our team. We'll let you know when to speak. We'll let you know when to shoot. We'll let you know when to pass. But he talked about how they have fully accepted these kids that are, freshmen and sophomores because they know that they can play and they can help them get to where they want to be, which is to get up to try to win a gold ball. Are you surprised that a team 28-0 got the 3 seed? Oostburg got the 1, Kettle Moraine Lutheran got the 2, Wisconsin Dells got the 3, Mosinee got the 4.
I'm a little surprised, but on the flip side of that coin, like I said, Oostburg was 5-0 against teams that are playing this weekend, and Kettle Moraine's 1 losses to a D1 team that played in the sectional final. Right. So I'm all for rewarding teams that played really good schedules. No disrespect to Wisconsin Dells, of course, but when the Oostburgs of the world are playing the Arrowheads, the Whitefish Bays, the Pewaukees, the really elite level programs in this state, I'm okay with rewarding them with better seats.
Yeah, I am too. And whether you're the 2 or the 3 really doesn't matter.
Right.
Because, you don't have to play the 1 until the state championship game. So 2 or 3, if I'm Bob Buss, I'm like, so we wear a different color jersey. It's not a big deal.
It's one of those things. You're going to be playing a great team regardless if you're the 1, the 4, the 2, the 3. It doesn't matter. You're going to be playing a great team regardless.
They are led by senior Natalie Bacchus, who is averaging 21 points a game and 11 rebounds. She's a walking double-double. Yeah. And he had talked about how tough she is, what a gym rat she is, and how she can shoot the ball, and she rebounds with anybody in the state. He was very proud of how she has developed as a player. And as a former coach, when you have a kid who's cleaning up the glass and finishing, man, that keeps me up at night.
Yeah, and she's going to have to be her usual 20-10 self against a team like KML because they will pack the paint. They will take away offensive rebounding. It'll be a tough matchup for her, but she's a good player. It'll be interesting to see how it goes.
Yeah, we'll get to predictions later. later in the show.
Of course, absolutely.
Remember how you did on the football show?
Yeah, we won't talk about that.
No, we will not. We're going to get to a break. Other side of the break, we'll break down the evening games in Division 4. This is the WIAA High School Basketball Girls State Championship Preview Show presented by Current Electric, only on My 24. Welcome back to the WIAA High School Basketball Girls State Championship Preview Show presented by Current Electric. I am Mike McGivern alongside my co-host. He's Michael Whitlow, preps writer and reporter for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel and JS Online. Make sure you follow him. He's really good at what he does. Hey, Michael, let's take a look at tonight's matchup in Division 4. Our first game, tip-off at 6:35 right here on my 24. And it features the #1 seed Neillsville Warriors against the Lions from Lomira. Neillsville is 27-1 overall, went undefeated, and won the Clover Belt East Conference, and they are coached by John Geyer. Let's take a listen to what John has to say about this year's team.
We're just excited to be there. There's no better time than to have the chance to be in Green Bay in March. So we're just excited to be there. And, we played a pretty tough non-conference schedule. We tried to schedule a pretty tough non-conference schedule and did a pretty good job coming through there. Our sectional was a pretty tough sectional. Regis and McDonald and Cameron, all good teams in there. So Fall Creek as well. So it was kind of a gauntlet to get through, and our kids were able to do that. And we're just excited to be coming to Green Bay.
You know, Michael, when I listen to John talk, and John's a veteran coach, and one of my favorite quotes in the entire press conference was by him. And he said, look, they have really kind of done a lot on the defensive end. He said, look, you obviously are a team that likes to hold teams to 25, 30, 40 points. And he kind of smirked and he said, look, defense travels.
Yeah.
Wherever we go, defense travels. We're not always going to be hitting shots, but we can always play defense. And if you want to get on the court for me, play defense and you'll get some time.
Oh, yeah.
And it was old school. It was, you know what? It really was old school, and I loved it. They are led, a young team, but they are led by Maddie DeVelt. She is a junior best player. And he said, look, she's an absolute gym rat. If the doors open in the gym, she's in there. Not during school time, but she gets there early, gets shots up. And what happens when you're a program like this, if your best player, who's averaging 25 a game or whatever she's averaging, is in the gym and in the weight room by herself, other players notice. Now they want to come and rebound for it. Now they want to come and get shots up. And he said, look, because of what she does outside of our practice time, has a lot to do with how good we are.
Yeah, Maddie's one of those players that gets you to this weekend. I think she's averaging about 19 and 9 on the year, about 18.8, 8.8 rebounds a game. That's the kind of player that gets you here. And that's the kind of player that can help you bring home a gold ball. And like you said, when a player like that flexes her work ethic on a daily basis, that makes other kids be like, well, okay, if I can get to that level, then I got to do this, this, and this. And it's a trickle-down effect. And you see it with a lot of these small school programs as well.
And they don't want to let her down because they see all the work she does.
Exactly.
Do I want to sleep in today and just get to school right when the doors open, or do I want to get there for that workout that Maddie keeps saying, look, guys, come join me. Let's get better. And this is the way we get better. And I can tell you that John talked a lot about just how hard she works. And if your best player is working harder than anybody else, it gets everybody else involved.
Absolutely.
The Lomira story for me is really interesting. And I loved all the background and the family stuff of the Lions. Let's take a listen to what Liz Cook, their head coach at Lomira, talks about with the Lions.
My mom was part of that state team, and then I was a part of a sectional semifinal team. And then my sisters, who are very unique, my family has quadruplets, and the 3 girls played together. And they made it to sectional finals. So they're very excited. The whole family is excited that we finally got over that hump of getting to the state tournament.
You know, I was told I should never sing in public, but I feel like singing, "We are family. I got all my sisters and me." It is family up there. And when Liz talked about it's the first trip to state in 33 years, and the last championship, her mom and aunt were on that team. What this means for this family, for Coach Liz Cook to get this team up to state and to play at the Rush Center is such a big deal for the community, but for her family, I just really enjoyed and the smiles she had when she talked about, look, this is really a family affair, and they're all good. Nobody's going to sleep well the night before. This entire family will be up there.
A couple of things. They seem like they are more family than the 70s Pittsburgh Pirates that use that song.
Well, there you go.
Two, it makes sense why there's probably limited hotels, because the entire Cook family plus the Lomira community are probably going to be taking up all the rooms. So, you know, it definitely seems like it's a true family affair for Liz in this program. And it's always, I think we talked about this during state football as well, to have that trickle down effect from, you know, grandfather to dad to son. It's just, now you have it on the girls, you know, girls basketball state stage. It's so cool to see. It's such a unique thing in Wisconsin.
Josie Christensen, she's a sophomore, averaging 27 a game for Lomira. Look, when you're a sophomore averaging almost 30 a game, you're gonna some people are start to pay attention. But when Liz talked, look, she's really good, and she gets us out of some issues with how good she is offensively. But boy, it is a team. The other thing she talked about, we average 15 offensive rebounds a game.
That's insane.
That's insane.
Especially for a girl that's averaging over 26 a game and shooting it very well.
Correct. Yeah, and they really get after the offensive side. The other thing that surprised me is they were a man-to-man team until a month ago. And she said, look, we were struggling staying in front of some girls, and so we thought, well, let's throw in this zone. Little matchup, and we'll do it this way.
Right.
And she said the kids have locked in, and she asked them, look, during a timeout, she'll have kids going, hey, let's go to zone. Let's keep in that zone. And they have, if you look at their scores in the last month, they have really defended well.
Yeah.
And it's changing a zone midway or even more, 3/4 of the way through the year, and now you're a zone team. Just, for me as a coach, like I'm sweating here. Yeah. It's like, we're not doing that. This is what we are. But she was smart enough, and their staff was like, look, this is working. Let's stick with it.
Yeah, that brings a couple of interesting points as well, and we can talk about that more in the prediction thing. But I feel like that almost puts a little bit more pressure on Josie to score, because it's like, if we're not scoring, we can't set up our zone on the other side of the floor. So it makes our life a little bit more difficult defensively. It's one of those, it's give and take. But I mean, if the zone's working, you stick with it. I mean, it's in any sport, if it's working, you just roll with it.
100%. And again, on this court, it's a little bit longer.
Dimensions.
And it's really hard to see which 3-point line do I need to shoot from. I'm telling you.
That's true. That's a real thing.
And so, you know what, that zone, how far out are you going to come? Or are you going to pack it in? It'll be interesting to watch. We're going to get to a break, Michael. On the other side of the break, we will break down the second game in Division 4 as St. Mary Catholic takes on Albany Monticello. This is the WIAA Basketball Girls State Championship Preview Show, presented by our friends at Kerr Electric, only on My 24. Welcome back to the WIAA High School Basketball Girls State Championship Preview Show, presented by Kerr Electric. I'm Mike McGivern, alongside my co-host. He's Michael Whitlow. He's a prep sports writer for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel and JS Online. Michael, let's take a look at tonight's second game in Division 4. Number 2 seed St. Mary Catholic battles the number 3 seed Albany Monticello. And let's start with St. Mary's, and let's listen to Jeff Chu, head coach Jeff Chu, as he talks about this year's team.
We play full court, and we do get some steals and get some easy baskets that way. So we pass the ball well, and we play full court defensively very well.
Michael, he talks about defensively, and they're going to pick up full the entire game. They average 17 steals per game. You put me in the gym by myself, I can't get 17 steals in a game. They're averaging 17 steals in a game, and they go deep into their rotation. And it's interesting because when we listened to the head coach from Albany Monticello, he said, look, we go 7 and that's what we're going to do. These guys at St. Mary Catholic, they use a lot, and the kids on their team in short spurts, and they just get after you defensively.
Yeah, I feel like when I was growing up and I was watching women's college basketball, and I felt like the best teams were always the teams that picked you up full court, that made you speed up and got easy buckets.
Right.
I feel like they are a prototypical like women's basketball team. They speed you up, they get easy buckets, they go 10, 11 deep if they need to. Like, this is what, at least growing up with me, that's what I saw. That's what I saw the best teams doing, pressuring you, making life difficult. It's like Isaiah Ketterhagen said with Oostburg, making life miserable for 36 minutes. And that's what St. Mary does about as well as anybody in the state.
100%. And I am interested to watch that game. And I want to see what's going on about 6 minutes to go in the first half.
Yeah.
And the last 6 minutes, because that's when that pressure really starts to get to you, especially for a team like Albany, Monticello, who plays 7.
Exactly. Yeah.
How are they going to handle that? And he talked about the TV timeouts, and we'll talk a little bit about them here in a minute. But I can tell you that Autumn Crow is a junior for St. Mary Catholic, averaging 22 points a game, and leads that team in almost every category. Like average steals, assists, rebounds, pretty much every category.
Yep.
Autumn Crow is the girl that makes St. Mary Catholic. But when Jeff talked about that pressure defense and how they just pick up full on even on a missed shot, they're going to try to pick you up full. That's going to cause some problems, I think, for Albany, Monticello.
Oh, absolutely. It's like when you're only a team that goes 7 deep and you're playing against a team that's going to be in your face for 36 minutes, that is, even with a bigger court, that's going to be a problem. And it's like, you know, Albany's going to have to manage their minutes. They're going to have to, and obviously, I think a big thing too, how's the game going to be officiated? Are they going to be able to press and maybe be a little bit more physical?
Right.
Like, how is the game going to be officiated? Because if they let some stuff go, and that tends to kind of be the case at state, that could play in the St. Mary hands.
100%. And then, you know what, they start wearing them down a little bit because they're
Exactly.
more
And
physical.
Autumn starts getting some easy buckets, and
Right.
the next thing you know, the lead's 15.
Yeah. And they're a tough team to come back on. Let's talk a little bit about Albany, Monticello. Derek, their head coach, had some great things to say about his team.
You know, the timeouts, the media timeouts will really help with that, and our experience of being there twice before and how to utilize those. We will get on a college gymnasium floor this week. We thought that was important the last go around. We were able to get down to Whitewater and play on a court. We're going to go down to Beloit College this week and get on a court. So I don't think it'll change our rotations because we usually only go 7 strong unless we're in foul trouble. And some of those girls would really heckle me if they didn't get the minutes. Like, they're out there performing and they get after it. And at this point in the season, they're very well conditioned and they'll be ready for the moment.
You know, Coach Deutscher talked about them being moved up to Division 4. They were in Division 5 and got moved up. And he said, look, it wasn't something that we were happy with, but we've fully accepted it. He's got a very young team, and in the beginning of the year had to explain to them why they got moved up. And it's for me, it's I'd be okay with that, right? We're such a good program that the WIAA wants to move us up, and a number of teams that we'll talk about have been moved up.
Yep.
But he said it took us a little bit of in the beginning of the year, you know, for us to get over that hump and say, look, we still have a chance to get to state. I don't care if we're in 5 or Division 4. Mm-hmm. And he had talked about the turning point for this team. On January 22nd, they were down by 12 at half to a really good Argyle team. And he sat with that team at halftime and said, look, this is going to determine what direction we go as a team. If we get beat by 25 here because we put our heads down and we can't compete against these girls, that's going to carry over the rest of the year. But if we man up a little bit and get after it and keep playing the way I know we can play, this could be a turning point. And he talked to them at halftime about that, and they came back at Argyle, being down 12 at half, and beat them. And he said, look, that moment has really kind of catapulted us to where we are today.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at their schedule, I think they've won 9 of their last 10 games. That really was a turning point for them because they've been rolling ever since. And I think a good point that Derek brought up too is the media timeouts, because you see teams get up there and it's like some of the girls are on the court and they just kind of look around wondering what's going on. They have the experience of being there. They understand, you know, the bigger court, the TV cameras, you know, the itinerary of, the hotel to the bus to the arena. They've been there, done that. And I think that can play into their hands a little bit. I still think they're going to have their hands full with that press. We'll get into that later again. But I think having that experience that they have is going to play into their hands at times.
It's interesting for a guy like me that has been into this situation a couple of times. The template that you set, or the template that somebody teaches you, what hotel, where are we going to eat, what are we going to do at night, what do we, all of that stuff. If it's the first year, everything is new. But a team like Albany, Monticello, like you said, they know what door to go in. They know what locker room to go in. And that makes a big difference. It really does. And especially if you've had success with, we're going to Pizza Hut, or we're going to Pizza Ranch, right? So that kids can eat whatever they want. And then we're going to go back to the rest center and watch some games, or we're going to go early and get a shoot around. I love the fact when he talked about we get on college courts.
Yes.
Right. We did that a lot. All right. We would go to Madison Edgewood.
Yeah.
And we would utilize the Edgewood court. And so that way we had gotten these kids used to a little bit on getting up and down a court that's a little bit longer. People will say, look, it's not much longer. It's 5 feet on either side.
Yeah.
That's 10 feet total. That's a couple more steps. So when you're doing the press that St. Mary's Catholic is, right, it's going to be a little bit longer. They're going to wear down Albany, Monticello, I think, and we'll find out what you think when we do predictions. Plus, Albany's a young team, and St. Mary's Catholic, they've got some seniors on that team. It's going to be fun to watch.
Absolutely, and obviously, Autumn will make the difference, I think, for St. Mary, just with her scoring ability, her ability to press, Albany. But I like I said, you can't rule out experience in a time like this. I think Albany will be able to hang tough, at least early on.
Yeah, and their guards have got to make sure that their head is up, and if they're, depending on which press they're going to run, right? If they're going to come double, if they're going to run a 12 press, they're going to run man.
Right.
Let's figure out what they're running and make sure your point guard is fully aware of what, if the trap is coming, they're going to run and jump, because
that was going to be my next point. Do not run into the trap.
No, and Jeff Chu's going to run a couple of different presses, but they're going to press every chance they get. We're going to get to a break. Other side of the break, we're just minutes away from tip-off of the first state semifinal in Division III. And we're going to get to some predictions on the other side. We'll see how my co-host does this year. This is the WIAA High School Basketball Girls State Championship Preview Show, presented by Current Electric only on My 24. Welcome back to the WIAA High School Basketball Girls State Championship Preview Show, presented by Current Electric. I'm Mike McGivern, alongside my co-host. He is Michael Whitlow. He's a preps reporter, writer for the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel and JS Online. All right, look, during our football show, not your finest moment, but I'm going to give you a chance to make a comeback on this thing. Well, let's talk some predictions on the games going on today. And let's start with our first game that's about to tip off here in a few minutes. The number 1 ranked Oostburg against Mosinee. I got a feeling I know which way you're going with this, but I'm probably going to go with you.
Yeah, shout out to Mosinee. They've had an amazing finish to their season, not losing since January 5th, but there's no way in the world I'm picking against the Ketterhagans. I mean, they have just been unbelievable this year. They've played some of the best teams in the state. Like I said, some of the teams that are playing this weekend, I'm not picking against Oostburg.
No, I'm not either. I look, and I still have a little bit of a bone to pick with Oostburg, because the worst loss I ever had as a basketball coach was to the Flying Dutchman. But you know what? It's okay. I think Mosinee is a team that we'll hear about and talk about next year.
I agree.
But I think they're a year away. Let's get to the Wisconsin Dells Kettle Moraine Lutheran game. Wisconsin Dells 28-0. Like you said, they have not even had a close game other than the sectional final all year against a team that's their only losses to a really good Hartford Division I team. Kettle Moraine Lutheran against Wisconsin Dells. Who do you have?
I'm going to take KML in this game. I know they may be seen by some as an underdog since they're playing an undefeated team, but they're 27-1, and they've played such a good schedule. Jason runs a great program. I'm going to trust them in their defense specifically. Like I said, they held an MAS team to 43 points, which I think might have been their lowest point total all season. I'm going to trust Jason in his defense.
I'm getting nervous now. I got to agree with you twice. Oh no, but we're agreeing though. I know, but the way you did in football, that 1-6 thing, I'm just kidding. The one thing
Fair
about
enough.
that game that gets me a little bit nervous for Kettle Moraine Lutheran is Wisconsin Dells has 6 seniors and 2 seniors. Kettle Moraine, they've got a lot of young kids that maybe have not, had to perform at this level. I don't think the lights are going to be too bright, but that one makes me a little bit nervous. But I'm going to go with you.
Should be a really good game.
Should be a great game. And I know that Jason and Coach Walls and his staff would love the opportunity to play Oostburg. They don't know how they're going to do, but they would love the chance to play against a team like Oostburg.
And I'm glad we're getting this game, potentially getting this game for a state championship and not in like a sectional semifinal or a sectional final.
Yeah, we can do a whole show on the whole WIAA thing when it comes to this stuff, but we'll do that at a different time. Let's go over to Division 4 if we can. Neillsville is going to play Lomira, and wondering, it's 1 against 4. What's your thought on this?
And I keep going back and forth with this game because I could see this be a 1-4 upset because as crazy as it sounds with Coach Cook going to that zone, it's been working for them. They've been able to limit teams. I'm going to take Neillsville here. I know it's chalk to take the 1 seed, but it seems like, they're clicking right now. They had to go through like Coach said, they went through a really tough sectional and beating a good team like Regis, who I had coming out of that section.
Right.
I'll take Neillsville, but I think that game's going to be a lot closer than people think for a 1-4 year.
Boy, oh boy, I'm going to agree with you again. I think, here's what I think. I think, and I love Liz Cook, and I love the job that she's done.
And the story's amazing.
It's amazing. My gut tells me they're so happy to get over the hump to get there.
Yeah.
That is it going to be the parade and the pep rally and all of that? Is that going to take their attention to detail away as far as their team? I don't know that. I'm rooting for Lomira, but I think Neillsville probably gets that. And when he said defense travels, that I love that line. Defense travels,
and it's true.
Not always going to hit shots, but you can always play defense.
Absolutely.
Kind of like I'm rooting for Lomira, but I think Neillsville is going to get that. Let's go over to St. Mary Catholic against Albany Monticello. Albany Monticello's, look, this is second hat. They've been up there. They've had great girls programs over the years. Derek does a great job with them. It's a young team. St. Mary Catholic averaging 17 steals, and we just talked about that. Are they going to be able to wear down Albany Monticello a little bit?
Yeah. I'm taking St. Mary Catholic here because they've had some experience at state. I know some of their girls have had experience at state with volleyball as well. So, it's just they're used to being on the big stage, and I think that press has just been so suffocating this year. It's hard for me to pick against them. I just think that depth and that press is just going to wear them down as the game moves along.
I'll go with Albany Monticello. Just so a little bit of difference. You're going to have to buy me lunch on that one. Michael, thank you so much. You'll be back with me tomorrow, which I love, and we'll talk about Divisions 5, 2, and 1. Please join us tomorrow morning at 8:30, 1 hour prior to the Division 5 games from the Rush Center in Green Bay. This has been the WIAA High School Basketball Girls State Championship Preview Show presented by Current Electric only on My 24.